It's time for America Outdoors Radio, the show that covers the outdoor scene across the U.S. of A. and the entire continent. Fishing, hunting, conservation, outdoor recreation, and great destinations, we cover it all every week. It's your country, your outdoors. Let's explore it together with your host, John Cruz.
Welcome aboard. I'm glad you're here. If I don't sound quite right during the next hour, it's because I inherited a special gift this holiday season, a Christmas cold. I could grouse about it, but the fact of the matter is, this is pretty small potatoes compared to what a lot of folks are facing this winter. So let's count our blessings, and I'll just ask you to try to bear with me as I cough up some words today on the air. By the way, don't be confused if I sound fine at times and not so fine at others. You see, we recorded the show over a couple of days, and as you'll soon find out, my voice and health were fine for several of the interviews the first day we recorded, but not so fine for the other segments, like today. So again, bear with me. And if you're wondering what to buy me for Christmas, cough drops or NyQuil would do nicely, thank you. Speaking of Christmas, I don't know about you, but I think I've reached an age where I just don't need too much anymore. Don't get me wrong. I appreciate a fine shotgun, rifle, fishing rod, pair of waders, or hunting jacket as much as the next guy or gal. But I've noticed that I've been purchasing some of these items over the last couple of years that will likely last me the rest of my hunting and fishing career. A case in point, the ptarmigan hunting parka I bought from Columbia Sportswear with my recent South Dakota pheasant trip in mind. I've always wanted one of these jackets, and by a happy coincidence, they just happened to be on sale for almost 50% off the day I checked the Columbia Sportswear website. I got that jacket in the mail, I wore it to South Dakota, I loved it, and realized as tough as it was, this will probably be the last upland hunting jacket I'll ever need to buy. Thank you, Columbia Sportswear, for a great jacket, but I've got to admit, thoughts like that, knowing that you'll never have to buy another upland jacket again, well, it makes you realize there's probably fewer days in the field ahead of you as opposed to behind you. This week on the show, we're going to do a Christmas giveaway. You've been good. You've been loyal. You've been listening. I appreciate it. And that's why, in just a couple of minutes, we've got something very nice for one of you listening today. We've also got a couple of great interviews for you with some very knowledgeable gentlemen. One of them is Nick Penizzotto. He is the president and CEO of the National Deer Alliance. This organization has been sounding the alarm about the rapid spread of chronic wasting disease across our country, but despite that, a lot of folks still don't know much about this disease, commonly referred to as CWD, and how it spread. That's why Nick is going to take a few minutes to tell you all about this epidemic affecting ungulates, not just deer, other ungulates too, across the nation, and what you, as a hunter, can do to help stop the spread of this disease. From deer, we'll switch to beagles and rabbit hunting, and the man we'll talk to about it is Bob Ford. Bob is a very interesting man. He's known as the Beagle Bard, probably because he's written a bunch of articles and books full of stories about beagles. He is a very avid rabbit hunter who hails from Pennsylvania, and he's also a Methodist pastor. How's that for a combination? Personally, I'd love to hear some of his sermons because I'm guessing rabbits and beagles make their way into them quite a few times. Today, Bob and I will be talking about winter rabbit hunting dogs, recommended guns and ammo, and we'll also talk a little bit about tactics too. And if you're looking for a gift for Christmas, consider purchasing an autographed copy of Beagle Tales Christmas from Bob Ford. Now that would be an awesome gift for the hunter and dog lover in your family. In addition to this, we've got outdoors news about how many deer are being harvested in some of our United States and the best states to go to if harvest numbers equate to success for you. We'll also tell you about the annual harvest of a very different game species in Alabama and encourage you to go saltwater fishing in Alaska this winter. I know, you thought this was a summertime activity, and so did I. But it turns out the kings are on the bite right now, and we'll tell you where. Finally, I do want to mention the sponsors of our show. They've been really good to us over the last year, and we do appreciate it and want to express that thank you during this Christmas season. They include Sportsman's Cove Lodge in Southeast Alaska, Shiloh Inn & Suites, and the Dalles Area Chamber of Commerce. We've also had seasonal sponsors like Fish Fighter Products and McCombie's Custom Lures. We're wishing all of you a Merry Christmas this season. Next up on America Outdoors Radio, I know, you're thinking to yourself, I wish you gave away stuff on this show like you do on the other show. Well, guess what? This Christmas, we are giving away $150 worth of gift certificates from Shiloh Inns, good at 14 of their properties. One of them I would highly recommend is the Ocean Shores property. With us here to tell you more about it is Kevin Cadle, who is the general manager. Kevin, welcome to the show. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Thank you for having us.
So, Kevin, if somebody wins $150 worth of script, I know they can't use it at the beachfront properties at Ocean Shores and Newport and Seaside during the summer months, and they can't use it during most holidays, but pretty much the winter's wide open, plenty of opportunities in the winter and spring to come to the beach and enjoy a stay here, isn't there?
Yeah, it's some great opportunities to come out and visit us during the winter. If the waves are coming up over the jetties, or if there's balconies that you would like to watch our storms over, you can find those with us.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about what's bringing people here during the winter months and the early spring. Number one, razor clamming is a really big deal here in the Pacific Northwest. The Clatsop County beaches in northern Oregon are closed, so you're getting more people here, and those razor clam digs, they draw a crowd when they're open, don't they?
Oh, absolutely. We can expect a good flow coming in to see us on those weekends.
In addition to that, you don't see it often, but don't overlook the opportunity to cast for surf perch. Do you get to see people that are doing that now and again up and down the beach here?
With the rains picking up, you see it less and less, but we do still see them coming out and seeing us.
And these surf perch, folks, fun to go after. Just use a little bit of clam for bait, or you can use some Berkeley gulp bait as well. But if you're willing to brave the elements and brave the surf, you can go out there and you can come back with some surf perch that'll weigh like 1.5 pounds, and a few of those make a really nice meal. Now, if you strike out in terms of fishing or clamming, fortunately you have a great restaurant here, and I understand that you even serve razor clams. In fact, we've got somebody else with us, Belinda Orozco. Belinda, what are the dishes you serve here at the restaurant? You are the sous chef, and you make them.
Right now on the menu, we have breaded razor clams. We serve them on our breakfast menu, and we also serve them on our dinner menu. But when we get those big crowds that come out for clam digging, we try to whip up a few specials to run just for them.
Well, I love it, and it's just another excuse to come out here. Now, this gift certificate we're giving away, you can't use it in the restaurant. It's just good for the lodging. Doesn't count for taxes, but you know what? It's a great deal. It's $150 worth of script that you can use at this property or 13 other properties that Shiloh Inn owns, to include properties at Newport, properties at Seaside. Both those are on the beach. There's Tillamook, there's Warrenton that are on the Oregon coast. There's also some great properties inland, like Idaho Falls and Elko, Nevada. So take a look at ShilohInns.com, and if this is something you want for Christmas, just go to our Facebook page, America Outdoors Radio, like our page, follow our page, look for the post, and just tell us where you're from. Tell us where you're from and that you want the script, and you're entered for a chance to win. One lucky person's going to win it, and one person's going to have a Merry Christmas because of it. Kevin, Belinda, thanks for sharing this with us today on America Outdoors Radio.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much.
I'd like to welcome a new sponsor to our show. It's Sportsman's Cove Lodge, and many anglers who have been there will tell you it really is Alaska's best lodge. Sportsman's Cove Lodge sits on a salmon highway full of kings and silvers. There's halibut too, and there are some really big ones. Finally, with decades of experience taking care of customers, Sportsman's Cove Lodge knows how to treat you right from start to finish. Ready to book your trip of a lifetime? Then call Sportsman's Cove Lodge at 800-962-7889. That's 800-962-7889. 800-962-7889 for Sportsman's Cove Lodge.
Schuler Productions has 3 great shows coming your way in 2019. It all kicks off at the Track in Pasco, January 18th through the 20th, with the Tri-City Sportsman Show. The long-running Central Washington Sportsman Show is back at the Sundome in Yakima, February 15th through the 17th. And don't forget the Wenatchee Valley Sportsman Show, February 22nd through the 24th at the Town Toyota Center. With seminars for adults, activities for the kids, and lots of things to see, these shows are sure to be fun for the whole family. Find out more at SchulerProductions.com.
This land, once wild and free, fades now from our memory. But I remember what it was like, what we were like, what we are capable of when we band together. Perhaps more than any other landscape, wetlands embody the life-giving abundance that nature has to offer. And perhaps more than any other organization, Ducks Unlimited is working to ensure that our continent's wetlands not only survive, but thrive for generations well beyond this one. These natural wonders are where waterfowl begin their cycle of life, where the deer and the antelope play, and where we, the people, gather together to see and share what makes the outdoors so great. The time is now to band together with organizations like Ducks Unlimited. The time is now to rescue our wetlands.
The 2 biggest fishing and hunting shows in the Northwest are taking place courtesy of O'Loughlin Trade Shows. The Washington Sportsman Show is happening January 23rd through the 27th at the Fairgrounds in Puyallup, and you won't want to miss the Pacific Northwest Sportsman Show either at the Expo Center in Portland, February 6th through the 10th. There will be hundreds of exhibitors and up to 100,000 attendees, along with the seminars and demos from experts there, and you'll find incredible deals too only at these shows. It's the Washington Sportsman Show in Puyallup, January 23rd through the 27th, and the Pacific Northwest Sportsman Show in Portland, February 6th through the 10th. They're the biggest and best shows around. We'll see you there. Welcome back to America Outdoors Radio. I'm John Cruz. I'd like to discuss a really important topic with you. It's chronic wasting disease, often referred to simply as CWD. It's decimating deer herds across the country, and it's spreading. With us here to tell you more about it and to give you a basic primer about this disease is Nick Pinizzotto. He is the president and the CEO of the National Deer Alliance. Nick, welcome to the show.
Pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
So, Nick, why don't we start off with what is chronic wasting disease and what does it do to deer?
Sure, and can be a very long-winded answer and a very technical answer, but I'm going to avoid that, and I'm going to go very simple here. The best thing for your listeners who aren't familiar with CWD to think about is mad cow disease. Now, it's not exactly like mad cow disease, but it affects deer in a similar way, and that is it's a brain disease, neurological disease that affects deer, elk, and moose, and it essentially causes very rapid, spongy degeneration of the brain, and so it results in the deer become emaciated, the behavior very abnormal, loss of bodily functions, and ultimately they tend to die from it. I say tend to, it's 100% fatal, but they tend to die from it very quickly once their clinical systems arrive. But that being said, they could also carry the disease for a number of years before they actually display the clinical symptoms. So really boil it down, it's a brain disease, it's very contagious, can be transferred from deer to deer, and can also be taken across the country by hunters unknowingly if they harvest a deer that has chronic wasting disease, and it's a gigantic challenge for us from a conservation perspective now.
How prevalent is this in our deer populations? I know that it's definitely spreading out west. There's been a lot more instances in Wyoming and Montana over the last year, but it's been an issue back east for quite a while now, hasn't it?
Well, it's almost a nationwide issue. It's in 25 different states, and those states are spread out pretty well across the country. Let's put it this way. A lot of people feel like even if it hasn't been found in a particular state, that doesn't mean it's not there. So these states where they've had a positive or they end up with sometimes by chance an animal that's acting strangely, the wildlife agency picks it up, they have it tested, they find out, boom, they've got chronic wasting disease. And Arkansas is a very good example of that. A couple years ago, they didn't have CWD in Arkansas, at least they didn't think, and all of a sudden they find one deer that has it. or an elk that has it, and the next thing you know, they find out that it's very prevalent in that state. So a lot of times it just comes down to testing and casting a pretty wide net and sampling as many deer as you can. But it's not everywhere yet, as far as we know, but it's confirmed at least in 25 states. So now the real challenge is keep it out of the areas where it's not, and that happens through everything from on-the-ground wildlife management to working with hunters to help them understand what the issue is, and conservation groups around the country, because it is a deer disease, but it impacts all wildlife species just through the financial burden that comes with CWD and the fact that 80% of the people who buy a hunting license are mostly going to be hunting big game. And so if you start taking those out of the mix, those dollars that deer generate, well, those dollars get used to manage all different types of wildlife and even non-huntable wildlife.
You're listening to America Outdoors Radio. I'm John Cruz. We're talking to Nick Pinizzotto, the president and CEO of the National Deer Alliance, about chronic wasting disease. Something that caught my attention, you mentioned that CWD is also spread among elk and moose. I never heard that before. How serious of an issue is this to our elk and moose populations around the country?
Well, it's interesting. We don't hear about it as much in elk or moose in particular. Part of that is because the harvest of those animals is so much smaller compared to white-tailed deer, for a prime example. I mean, and even mule deer. They are the bigger sort of poster children, if you will, for this disease because we kill so many more of them, and therefore there's more opportunity for testing. So I think the general perception is that it's not as big of an issue in elk and moose, but I would say just caution and say that it very well may be every bit as much of an issue, and especially because those animals we know for sure can certainly get and carry CWD. It's just, like I said, the sample size I think is just quite a bit smaller.
So here's a question that I think a lot of hunters are wondering about. How do you know if you've shot a deer with CWD, and if you have, is that deer safe to eat?
Yeah, the first question there is an interesting one because I'd love to just give you a straight answer and say, well, here's how you tell if your deer has CWD. And one of the challenging things is a deer can walk around with CWD for years and appear to be healthy, and no one knows any difference. So you shoot a deer, looks like any other deer you've ever shot, and it may have CWD. And the only way you would know otherwise is if you had the animal tested by a lab. And that's becoming a more and more common practice, particularly in states where people they know they have CWD, so the testing's a little more familiar to them. Most state wildlife agencies on their websites will have information for laboratories that you can send certain tissues to be tested for CWD. So it's becoming more common for people to test, but that's really the only way to know if you have it. Now, in terms of is that deer safe to eat, obviously another gigantic question, because we know just through surveying that most people still hunt nowadays because they hunt for the meat. So people want to know, if I shoot this deer, is it something I can eat? Is it safe? Well, the Center for Disease Control recommends that you not eat a deer with CWD, but that being said, they also note that there has never been any link between CWD being transmissible to humans. So if you think about all the hundreds of thousands of deer that have been eaten over the years, and not one human being has ever been documented to have chronic wasting disease, I think the CDC is just saying, hey, we don't know for sure despite all of these samples, so we're going to put out a cautionary note and say if it has CWD, we recommend you don't eat it. But that being said, it's really a personal choice. And if you don't have it, you think about all the deer that may have it that have never been tested. We're certain that thousands of people are eating CWD-infected deer every year. It's just that it has not crossed a species barrier, at least to this point.
Really interesting stuff here. Last question about CWD. How do we stop the spread as hunters?
Yeah, and man, I wish if I had the answer to that question, we'd be a lot further ahead. But hunters play a big role. So we're continuing to learn things about CWD every single day. There's more and more research that's going on right now as we speak that will help us answer some of those questions. But there are some things that we do know for sure that hunters can do to help spread the disease. Number one, you don't be moving the carcass all over the country. So if you, let's say, for example, you live in the eastern United States and you go out to a western state and you shoot an elk and a mule deer. Well, it used to be if you drove out there, you probably just drove the animal back with you. Nowadays, there are certain parts that you can't. It's actually illegal in many states to bring those parts with you. And I'm talking about the full head and also the spinal cord are two very highly infectious parts that you're to leave behind now. So people are thinking, okay, well, I want to get an animal taxidermied. I can't bring the head back. How does that happen?
Right.
Well, there are things you can do. So you can bring back your antlers, and you can get, as long as the skull cap is cleaned and all the brain material is removed from it. But as far as meat goes, you have to bring back deboned meat. And in some states, you can bring quartered meat, but you can't bring that backbone with you. You can also leave your animal to be taxidermied in the state you shoot it in, or you can have a taxidermist cape the animal out, you bring back the antlers and the cape, and your local taxidermist can do it. So there are some things that hunters really can do in terms of slowing the spread. We always say that CWD spreads fastest in the back of a pickup truck, and that's very true. So know the rules in the area that you're hunting in, know the rules in the state that you want to take the animal to, and just be up on the disease. Don't be one of these people who just, unfortunately, they're out there who just says, it's too much hassle, or it's not really a big deal, I'm not worried about it, because I can tell you that states right now are really starting to patrol their borders, and they want to make sure that people aren't bringing deer or deer parts in that they shouldn't be. So I think the biggest thing is be aware and also be willing to do your part. And I would also encourage people to go to the website. It's called the CWD Alliance, and that website is cwd-info.org. And there are just a ton of great information and resources about chronic wasting disease there that help you get educated.
We've got to go, but folks, another website I want you to check out is the National Deer Alliance website. You'll find that at nationaldeeralliance.com. They've got a Facebook page as well. Just look for National Deer Alliance. They are on the forefront of fighting CWD, and now you know a lot more about it than you did before. Nick, thanks for the great primer about chronic wasting disease on America Outdoors Radio.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Are you looking to reel in the marketing opportunity of a lifetime? Then set the hook, because we've got it right here for you. America Outdoors Radio has sponsorships available, and we offer affordable platforms to reach thousands of listeners interested in fishing, hunting, and the outdoors. Find out more by contacting John Cruz through his website at AmericaOutdoorsRadio.com. That's AmericaOutdoorsRadio.com. Hurry, though. If you wait too long, the big opportunity might just get away. AmericaOutdoorsRadio.com.
Welcome back in with America Outdoors Radio. I'm John Cruz. We've got a great guest for you. They call him the Beagle Bard. His name is Bob Ford. He's a pastor, he's a beagle owner, and he's a rabbit hunter who hails from Pennsylvania. He's also written a number of books called Beagle Tales, to include a brand new one that would be a perfect gift for the holidays called Beagle Tales Christmas. Bob, welcome to the show.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic. You know, I am not much of a rabbit hunter, but I've always wanted to be one. So we're going to start off with some real basic questions here. First things first, it's wintertime, whether you're in Pennsylvania or out west. Is cottontail hunting a wintertime activity? What's the season for you out there?
Well, we start mid-October, and with a couple of breaks for the rifle deer season and Christmas Day. Otherwise, it's Monday through Saturday from mid-October all the way to the last day in February.
Okay. You're hunting brush, and you're hunting places where rabbits like to hang out, and obviously using a dog is a good way to go. And when people think of rabbit hunting, they always think of beagles. Why are they such good rabbit dogs? And are there other breeds that you see out there too?
Well, beagles have been bred for this for centuries and centuries. I know guys that use bassets. I've known guys with non-registered dogs that will use a beagle mix, which is mostly beagle, and sometimes they'll have some terrier mixed in. But if you go too far in that direction, you wind up having to go back to a beagle to get what you want eventually. The bassets are pretty good. They don't have the endurance. They don't have the speed. They're a longer dog and lower. They have a few more back problems, but I've known some terrific rabbit hunting bassets.
But when it comes to the beagle, obviously they can scent the rabbit, they can see the rabbit, they're small enough that they can go literally down the rabbit trail with them, and like you just mentioned, they've got some stamina too, don't they?
Yeah, they have good stamina. When I go to Maine and we hunt snowshoe hare, there's days when you put 18, 19 miles on a dog according to the GPS that you have on the collar, and they'll go 18, 19-mile days, and that's a further running species. The snowshoe hare goes in bigger circles than a cottontail. I've had them go out, well over a mile a few times on hare.
Wow. All right. I'm impressed. Let's talk about the basics of a cottontail hunt. And I'm sure that you are always sizing up the country and thinking, oh, that'd be a good place. Oh, that'd be a good place. That's no good. What kind of habitat are you looking for, especially during the winter months when it comes to good places to hunt rabbits?
Well, during the early fall, of course, goldenrod and anything thick like that is good. When you get to winter, that cover's gone because of the snow. So pine trees are good. You get into the places around here in Pennsylvania where they had surface mines for coal. A lot of times they replant those surface mines when they're done excavating with pine trees, and they make good cover. And then also, if you got greenbrier, if you have multifloral rose, anything that you don't want to walk through when you're out in the woods is a good place to find rabbits.
I remember reading an article several years ago, and I don't know if it was Field and Stream, Outdoor Life, or whatever it was, but the author loved walking abandoned railroad lines because of the cover that you'd find on either side, and because of the fact that being higher up on those railroad beds, he could actually see the movement of rabbits in them.
Yeah, you can see the rabbits cross the railroads in that situation, too. I mean, I've known guys that do that, and they maintain a right-of-way on either side so that tree limbs aren't bumping up against the train, of course, and so that creates great cover. Same thing actually happens on power lines. The power companies, where they have the main transmission lines for electricity going through, any given area, they will maintain that so that there's nothing touching those power lines, and that's a great place to find rabbits.
Now, having said this, folks, make sure you check your local area because your power company or your railroad company that operates in your area, they might have different rules about whether you...
Yes, and I'm not sure if you're allowed, and I don't do it simply because I've known guys that have had dogs killed by trains.
Right, and that's why I was recommending abandoned railroad lines as opposed to working railroad lines. But again, folks, caveat here, definitely check your local area. Make sure it's legal to hunt these areas before you do so. Let's get back to the basics of a cottontail hunt. For people who haven't done it, how do you get into the sport? Okay, I mean, number one, find somebody who's got a beagle, but outside of that, what do you do?
Well, a beagle is a scent hound, right? So there are sight hounds and scent hounds. Beagles are scent hounds, and they're able to locate rabbits. Very often a rabbit, when it's out feeding at night, will leave a scent trail to where it sits for much of the day. So they'll go into a form, and a form is just if you've been walking in the woods and almost stepped into a rabbit and it jumps out, that little area where it rests is a form, and they'll leave scent trails from where they ate all night to where they're resting, and dogs will find that. Or if you're making enough noise, sometimes rabbits will move out from their form and the dogs will encounter that scent trail. And like almost any animal that's hunted with hounds, they circle. So if you locate close to where the rabbit was jumped and find a place where you can see a little bit and get a shot, they'll circle. Cottontails, I've had cottontails circle anywhere from a 100-yard diameter circle to, or I guess a 100-yard radius circle, diameter circle, I guess, to I've had cottontails go as far as 500, but I'd say 200-yard circle is pretty typical for a cottontail where I live. And like I said, I had one go out well over a mile on a snowshoe hare, but that's a different species. They run bigger. They don't go in holes like a cottontail will. So, it's basically a matter of being patient and waiting for a shot you can make with the dog. And when the cover's real thick, you might have the dog come by you 10 yards away, and the rabbit was there before the dog, but you just don't see the rabbit. So it's something that you encounter. You don't always get to shoot the rabbit, but true houndsmen and houndswomen love the music, and so even if we don't get to shoot the rabbit, it's a good time.
Oh, it sounds like an absolute blast. Pun absolutely intended, by the way. And speaking of which, guns and ammo, what's your preference when it comes to rabbit hunting?
Well, I was always a true blue, dyed-in-the-wool 16 gauge. guy, and I still use the 16 gauge a lot, but more typically I use that when I expect to see birds, especially pheasant, grouse, and woodcock. But in recent years, I've gone to the 410, in part because there's days when the dogs chase and you don't get a shot. If you're going to carry a gun all day and only shoot twice, why not carry a light one? And I found that I shoot well with the 410. So I'm either using a 410 or a 16 gauge most of the time, depending upon whether I'm at a place where I expect to see some birds as well.
Bob, we are unfortunately out of time, and we didn't even get to talk about your new book, Beagle Tales Christmas. So I want you to stick around because right after a break, we're going to get you back. I want folks to hear about this book. It sounds like a wonderful gift for Christmas, whether you're a rabbit hunter or a beagle lover or just somebody who wants to be entertained by some good writing this winter about hunting. Oh, and one more thing as we go into a quick commercial break here. Don't forget that giveaway we're doing this week from Shiloh Inns. We are giving away $150 worth of gift certificates you can use at 13 different Shiloh Inns around the western United States. That includes Shiloh Inns at Ocean Shores and Seaside, Oregon, right on the beach, as well as other Shiloh properties in Oregon, Washington, Idaho, and Montana. Restrictions do apply. All you have to do is go to our Facebook page at America Outdoors Radio, like and follow that page, look for the post where we're doing the giveaway, and just tell us where you're from, city and state, and if you want to tell us what station you're tuning into our show on, we'd appreciate knowing that too. That's all it takes to enter. One lucky person is going to win $150 in gift certificates from Shiloh Inns with the tagline of affordable excellence after our last broadcast.
There's a place where the fishing is year-round, where the sun shines 300 days a year. The wineries and breweries are right downtown. The hiking and cycling offer spectacular views you just don't get in the big cities. Fortunately, the place is real and vibrant. It's the Dalles, Oregon, just 90 short minutes from Portland, along the gorgeous Columbia River, where the adventures are limited only by your imagination. Find out more at explorethedalles.com.
The two biggest fishing and hunting shows in the Northwest are taking place courtesy of O'Loughlin Trade Shows. The Washington Sportsman Show is happening January 23rd through the 27th at the Fairgrounds in Puyallup, and you won't want to miss the Pacific Northwest Sportsman Show either at the Expo Center in Portland, February 6th through the 10th. There will be hundreds of exhibitors and up to 100,000 attendees, along with the seminars and demos from experts there, and you'll find incredible deals too only at these shows. It's the Washington Sportsman Show in Puyallup, January 23rd through the 27th, and the Pacific Northwest Sportsman Show in Portland, February 6th through the 10th. They're the biggest and best shows around. We'll see you there.
Are you looking to reel in the marketing opportunity of a lifetime? Then set the hook because we've got it right here for you. America Outdoors Radio has sponsorships available, and we offer affordable platforms to reach thousands of listeners interested in fishing, hunting, and the outdoors. Find out more by contacting John Cruz through his website at AmericaOutdoorsRadio.com. That's AmericaOutdoorsRadio.com. Hurry, though. If you wait too long, the big opportunity might just get away. AmericaOutdoorsRadio.com.
Backcountry Hunters and Anglers seeks to ensure North America's outdoor heritage of hunting and fishing through education and work on behalf of wild public lands and waters. Lend your voice to the fight by visiting www.backcountryhunters.org and join the 25,000 men and women who have pledged to defend wildlife and public access. You can also demonstrate your support by signing up for the 2019 North American Rendezvous in Boise, Idaho, May 1st to the 5th.
We are the young minds that will shape tomorrow's world. But today, the world is in your hands. What's your vision for the future? Ducks Unlimited has had the same vision for over 75 years. A future with clean water, abundant wildlife, and plenty of places to enjoy nature.
There's a lot of work to be done,
But with a little help from you, our future is looking really bright. Ducks Unlimited, working for conservation for generations to come. A public service from Ducks Unlimited.
Why book at Sportsman's Cove Lodge?
Why is Alaska like no other place on Earth? It hasn't changed in thousands of years.
From the way you get here on a float plane to the way you go out with the guides and the boats, it's just a professional experience.
And I said, this is as good as it gets. I said, if you can't catch fish here, you can't catch fish anywhere.
Your experience with us will leave you speechless.
Book now at alaskasbestlodge.com. You're back with America Outdoors Radio. I'm John Cruz, and we're going to continue our conversation with Bob Ford. As you may recall from just a couple of minutes ago, he was talking to you about rabbit hunting, about beagles, and we didn't get a chance to talk about his new book, Beagle Tales Christmas. Bob, great to have you back. Tell our listeners a little bit about this book that would make an excellent gift this winter.
Well, I've been writing for 3 different Beagle magazines for years, going back to 2001, and it's a monthly column in each of those magazines. And my publisher, Sunbury Press, decided to release a Christmas edition. It has all of my Christmas stories that were previously published in my 8 books that are out as well, and I don't know if it's 6 or 7. There's some stories that have never appeared in any of the other books, and it's been selling very well as Christmas gifts for people who either like humor. I mostly write humor. People who like humor, who like dogs, because unlike a lot of guys, my hounds are also pets. If you were in my house right now, you'd see them lined up on a couch. And so if you like pets, if you like dogs, if you like humor, and it's been selling pretty well, and it's a whole range of Christmas topics, including some things which might be kind of sort of unique to this area, like the bell-snickle tradition. I tell stories about that as a kid, and bell-snickle, of course, goes back to old Germanic days, and bell-snickle is like the bad cop to Santa's good cop, and he comes the night of December 5th, and if you were good, you get a small toy and some candy, and if you were bad, you got kindling or coal. And I got kindling quite a bit as a kid, and it was designed to scare you straight till Christmas so that you were good for Santa.
I love it. All right, folks, if you want to get Beagle Tales Christmas, the website to go to is Bob Ford's website. You'll find it at beaglebard.com. That's beaglebard.com. Does an autograph come with the copy, Bob?
You get an autograph with the copy if you go to my website, and if I don't make as much money if you buy it off of Amazon, but if you have Amazon Prime and get free shipping, I don't blame you for going there. That's my publisher. I don't sign those.
All right. So, Beagle Tales Christmas, find it at Amazon.com, or if you want to personalize it, get an autographed copy, go to beaglebard.com, and do it quick because Christmas is coming up real soon. Bob, thanks for sharing this with us today on America Outdoors Radio.
Hey, have a good Christmas.
And now it's time for some outdoors news. And you know what? They bag a lot of white-tailed deer out in Ohio, that's for sure. From the Outdoor News Daily, we can share some 60,500 deer were harvested by hunters in the Buckeye State during a 7-day general rifle season that opened up the Monday after Thanksgiving, and that was down from last year, primarily due to weather. In 2017, nearly 73,000 deer were taken. Those are some impressive numbers, and they should be, because deer hunting is very popular in Ohio. In fact, this state is ranked 5th nationally in the number of resident hunters who live there. That's way over last year's harvest in my home state, by the way, of Washington, where in our modern firearm season, only 18,600 deer were taken in comparison. It's not all bad out west, though. In Montana, rifle hunters last year, well, they took home 99,000 deer. So there's definitely some places to hunt outside of the Buckeye State and west of the Mississippi. After looking these fun facts up, I did get curious as to what the top states were for buck harvest, and I found this tidbit from QDMA, an organization that's all about white-tailed deer. In 2015, the top 5 states for antlered whitetails were Texas, with 290,590 deer taken, That was followed by Michigan with nearly 192,000. Right behind them, Wisconsin with 152,700 deer harvested. Then came Georgia with 142,346. And finally, Pennsylvania, which it turns out is not just for rabbits. Plenty of deer there, too. 137,580 deer were taken there in 2015, which is just about double of that Ohio harvest this year that seemed so darn impressive just a few seconds ago. The state of Alabama has plenty of deer to harvest, too, but they also have something else you can hunt for. Alligators. Again, from the Outdoor News Daily, we can share 144 gators were harvested this season by the 260 hunters who had tags for them. The biggest one, a massive 700-pound alligator measuring nearly 12 feet long that was taken in the southeast part of the state by John Hertham of Montgomery, Alabama. That is one big swimming reptile there. I can only imagine what the teeth on that bad boy look like. Meanwhile, up in Alaska, the salmon fishing doesn't stop at the end of the summer. It goes right into the winter. That's the word from the Alaska Department of Fish and Game, which reports king salmon are present throughout the year, and one place to find them right now is in the saltwater around the state capital of Juneau. Anglers have actually been doing quite well lately thanks to unseasonably mild temperatures. Good spots to try include Og Bay, the Cut at Spun Island, and the backside of Douglas Island. You'll do best fishing around the tide changes and fishing shallower than you do during the summer. So, if business or pleasure takes you to Juneau, Alaska this winter, bring your salmon rod or hop on board a local charter and see if you can bring home a king. And we've got some good news out of the state of Idaho, where there was some real brinksmanship that threatened to close steelhead fishing this year. What happened was several environmental groups filed a notice of intent to sue the state of Idaho because they didn't have a signed permit in place from NOAA Fisheries, that's the federal government, even though they had permission to conduct fishing for steelhead where hatchery steelhead were kept and wild steelhead were released. The conservation groups filed the suit because they believed that, number one, there were very low returns of wild steelhead, which is true, and number two, that the continual catching of these wild steelhead and the way they're handled was an increased mortality. So an agreement was reached, whereas guides and outfitters have agreed for this season to go ahead and use single barbless hooks on the lures that they're using to go after steelhead, to catch and keep any hatchery steelhead they catch, and with a one-fish limit, that could mean a short day and less encounters with wild steelhead. And finally, any wild steelhead that are caught, guides and outfitters have agreed to keep them in the water, which should also reduce mortality on these fish. The state of Idaho doesn't necessarily agree with the science behind these measures. However, everyone has agreed to give this a try. And the good news is steelhead fishing, with the exception of two small areas where there's a lot of wild steelhead and not many hatchery steelhead, will be open in the state of Idaho. So towns like Orofino and Riggins and Salmon and Chalice and Lewiston, they'll all reap the benefits of steelhead anglers coming to rivers throughout Idaho like the Snake, the Clearwater, and the Salmon to fish and spend money. It's a win-win for everybody. I'm glad it turned out the way it did. I hate to say it, but we're starting to run short on time. So, one more reminder about that giveaway we're doing this week. Our way of saying Merry Christmas to you. We are giving away $150 in gift certificates to Shiloh Inns. They're good at 14 different properties. That includes properties on the beach in Ocean Shores, Washington, Newport, Oregon, and Seaside, Oregon, though there are seasonal restrictions for those, and lots of other properties too in Oregon, Washington, Idaho, Montana, and Nevada. If you're wondering how to enter to win, it's really easy. Just go to our Facebook page. You'll find it at America Outdoors Radio. Like and follow our page. Look for the post where we're doing the giveaway. And on that post thread, simply tell us, where do you listen to our show from? Just city and state's fine. We'd love to know what station too, if you know that. But that's all you have to do to enter for a chance to win. If you don't do Facebook, don't worry. You can contact us through our website at americaoutdoorsradio.com. Just shoot us an email with that same information, and you're entered for a chance to win. We'll give away this $150 in gift certificates from Shiloh Inns with the tagline of Affordable Excellence after our last broadcast this weekend, and hopefully make someone's Christmas a little brighter. While you're on the web, don't forget you can hear us on demand on several different platforms that include Stitcher and Podbean. Just look for America Outdoors Radio, or YouTube. We've got a channel there too. It's Northwestern Outdoors. That's one word. Subscribe and follow us on any of these platforms so you can hear not only this show, but portions of our regional show, Northwestern Outdoors Radio. Another place to hear us online is at talkamericaradio.us every Saturday morning from 6 to 7 a.m. Eastern Time. TalkAmericaRadio.us is the new voice of conservative talk radio. We're proud to be part of their lineup, and I'm pretty sure you're going to love what they have to offer. All right, it's time for me to head to the medicine cabinet and take some Dayquil or maybe even some NyQuil and see if I can get my voice back. I do hope, though, that you are blessed this Christmas season and that there are many blessings showered not just upon you, but your family and those that you love. I also hope that you get outside to enjoy some recreation. Remember, it is your country and your outdoors, so get out there and enjoy it. The two biggest fishing and hunting shows in the Northwest are taking place courtesy of O'Loughlin Trade Shows. The Washington Sportsman Show is happening January 23rd through the 27th at the Fairgrounds in Puyallup, and you won't want to miss the Pacific Northwest Sportsman Show either at the Expo Center in Portland, February 6th through the 10th. There will be hundreds of exhibitors and up to 100,000 attendees, along with the seminars and demos from experts there, and you'll find incredible deals too only at these shows. It's the Washington Sportsman Show in Puyallup, January 23rd through the 27th, and the Pacific Northwest Sportsman Show in Portland, February 6th through the 10th. They're the biggest and best shows around. We'll see you there.